This is ProChara. Today, he's one of the biggest Splatoon content creators and a former top competitive player, and overall, one of the most accomplished players in the scene. And I got the opportunity to interview him, to get his story of success so I can share it with you all.
Hi, I'm Chara. I was just asked if I could do this interview by NotFaller, so I'm just gonna go through their questions and respond to them.
Why did you start playing Splatoon?
I started playing Splatoon because I got the game randomly as a gift. Yeah, that's really about it. I played a game of Turf War and I was like, oh, this game's actually pretty good.
What prompted you to do content creation?
I started doing content creation a while ago, technically. If by content creation you mean just randomly uploading sets to YouTube from my, play experience. The content creation that most people know me for started around early 2021, and it was prompted by dudes saying that competitive Splatoon content was a 2 out of 10, and it got me motivated to, try my hand at it a little bit, so I did.
What was your first main?
The first weapon I ever really fully committed to was Custom Range Blaster. There's a very old video from Pengit, one of the best Range Blaster players in Splatoon 1, talking about a damage combo that it had by using 3 names of damage up and comboing the Splat Bomb with the outside hit of the blaster, and I just found that interesting. And I ended up committing to the weapon from there. I used the damage combo even when it wasn't optimal, because I just found it kind of fun.
When and why did you start playing competitively?
I started playing competitively because I got to S+99 and I kept wanting to play the game and I didn't know what else to do, really. I had played single player already and there really wasn't that much back in Splatoon 1. So I was like, alright, I heard about this competitive thing. I saw it in some videos. Figured I might as well try it out.
When you started playing competitively, what was your main goal/driver?
Kind of the thing that I've had for the majority of my career. I just kind of wanted to see myself get better. I find the process of natural improvement fun. That's really all I needed, That alone was a good enough motivator for me to get better.
What was your biggest roadblock when trying to improve?
I don't know if I'd ever really say I had a major roadblock. I feel like it's not a healthy mindset to look at it that way. But I suppose I naturally have a good amount of anxiety issues. That definitely played a factor, especially early on in my competitive career. And having to find different groups was also a factor. But I don't know, I wouldn't never say it was like a roadblock or anything. It was always something that I was, capable of dealing with the best that I could. And I always kind of saw that as my responsibility to work on.
At what point did you start to see the most improvement?
It's kind of hard to quantify that. I've definitely had a few phases. Early Splatoon 2 is one I could talk about where I got, my first real top team that I got offered to play on, which was Neptune. That was probably an opportunity where I had to learn a lot just because I was thrown into a higher level environment. You could also argue that some specific weapons really brought out potential in me, like Brella and Kensa Rapid in Splatoon 2 or Dread in Splatoon 3. So it's kind of hard to say for sure, but I'd probably say being on my first top team was the main thing that forced me to learn a lot, just because the environment of practice was a lot higher than what I was used to at the time.
What tips do you have for anyone new to competitive?
I feel like it's kind of vague to give, specific advice here because the point is just very general. I think that, practicing the game and playing it a good amount are important, making sure you take it seriously and figure out what ways are most effective to you, as well as trying to narrow down the weapon pool a little bit. I think that's kind of important in this game, at least.
What were your expectations/goals going into Splatoon 3?
I wanted to get back to NA Champs, the Nintendo Top 4 qualifier thing that I got in Splatoon 2, and I wanted to win a major tournament. Sort of didn't really happen, but yeah, those were what I had going into it.
When/why did you form Last Resort?
Me and Mecha, who are 2 people who have teamed together for a while in various different groups, ended up starting a project with Storm and Kiwi, which is another group that was comfortable with each other. It was just a pickup for one tournament that turned into something more because it ended up going pretty well, and a lot of our players had the same mentality and were looking for opportunities going into the next game. That eventually formed to what Last Resort was.
How did you work towards improvement while you were on Last Resort? What was your main strategy?
The main strategy we had was this double splash, double sword composition in which me and Arashi would play very aggressively, going in and trying to pull a lot of attention, and that would set up very effective crabs that could double as a way for us to regroup very easily, since at this time Cooler wasn't very good. So we would be able to pull and take a lot of space, and setting up effective crabs when crab was broken was very important, and those crabs allowed us to continue and carry our momentum. So it was a very aggressive style of kind of forcing our way in and then utilizing specials to continue to get a foothold as we gradually push our momentum forward. And I'd say like the main strategy we had, like, you know, in terms of improvement, was just to try and practice consistently. I tried to do a good mix of solo queue scrims and other forms of competitive practice as well as reviews.
What do you think of the way the meta evolved across Splatoon 3's lifespan?
I think it was pretty simple. The game gravitated pretty quickly to more aggressive weapons and midline fighting options and tacticaler stuff once the crab stuff was ironed out at the beginning of the game. I don't really think there's too much of a story there. It's just a game that tends to favor a lot more fighting focused options, and I personally found that a very natural direction for a game that was clearly gunning for that.
Why did you start coaching Moonlight? Where did you know
Last Resort was disbanding, and I had known for a while that it was going to happen, so the jump might have seemed quick between playing with Last Resort and playing with Moonlight and coaching Moonlight. But we had known for a while that the team was done, and we were just kind of waiting to finish out a few more events. So I had ended up coaching Nolan because he had asked me to, and I saw a lot of potential in Moonlight as a team that was doing better than Last Resort at the time, and just thought that, you know, it looked like an environment where it could be fun. I had also done quite a few teams where I was kind of leading the team or putting it together, and I just didn't really feel like doing that again. I didn't see any other immediate opportunities for me as a player. So I figured I could focus on myself individually while I coached Moonlight and eventually be on a team as a player, and obviously that didn't happen.
Why did you stop competing? Did you plan to come back?
I did a whole video on this, and there's really nothing more I can say that I didn't already say in that video, and I don't really plan on coming back to competing. It's not like I left or anything, I'm still involved in the scene, but I don't really have any plans to return as a competitor now.
What are your plans for the future of Splatoon?
I want to continue the content creation stuff, hopefully continue the public coaching I've started with Medify, and continue to help Moonlight get a big major win this year. That's really about everything from me. Thanks so much for the interview, and I'll see you later.
Well, there you have it. I hope you found this story as interesting as I did. It was a good reminder that everyone starts from the bottom, which is not something you might think of often when you see people who are super successful. If you did enjoy, go check out Chara and subscribe to him if you haven't already. And don't forget to subscribe to me too, because I'm back from my little break and I'm going to be getting right back at it. Have a good one. What do you think of the way this... What do you think of the ways... I lost my sauce. When you started complaining... Bro, since I'm recording this after I got the audio for his voiceover, bro, this is the most parasocial conversation I think I've ever had.